Hello, fellow history buffs and grammar lovers. I'm Jessie. Today, we're going to learn about the history of a particular grammatical rule that people these days often ignore. This rule states that you cannot end a clause with a preposition. It seems silly, right? After all, we're used to saying such things as, "Who did you go with?" instead of, "With whom did you go?" Whether you agree with the need to follow this rule or not, let's learn a little about the language whence it came. Over 2,000 years ago, an enormously influential and powerful people, the Romans, were beginning to take hold of the Mediterranean. This extraordinary civilization is remembered today for all manner of cultural and technological advancements. Aqueducts, concrete, which is stronger than the concrete we make today, and complex plumbing systems vastly superior to those in use even 1,000 years later. The Romans were also amazing scholars, providing us with Christian theology, Stoic philosophy, and the literary genre called satire. In their writings, it's easy to see the complexity of Latin grammar, the language from which approximately 80% of English vocabulary is taken, and the language from which nearly all English grammar rules are taken. Quite simply, Latin grammar used what are called cases. These do still exist in English, but are rarely learned anymore because, well, English doesn't need them the way Latin did. Most prepositions in Latin were governed by one particular case called the ablative case. This case had one very special rule. The preposition must always be followed by its object. The object following is called the object of the preposition, a term we still use today. Let's look at a very simple example in Latin. And fair warning, grammarians, I can't roll my R's and I did not grow up speaking Latin, so I apologize if I don't pronounce it correctly. Cum amico cucuri, or I ran with a friend. Notice that the preposition cum, which means with in English, is followed by amico, its object. That's because the preposition requires that a noun in the ablative case be connected to and follow it. As a result of this rule, a Latin sentence can never have a preposition that's disconnected from an object. Though we tend to break this rule in English today, it has a long and powerful history. Some of the Roman statesmen and poets, such as Marcus Tullius Cicero and Gaius Valerius Catullus, used language so uniquely and beautifully that they changed the course of Roman grammar and thought for centuries to come. Here is a simplified version of Cicero's thoughtful sentiments about war. Si vitas populi nostri sine bello defendere poterimus, tum pacem consuare de bibemos. Or, if we can defend the lives of our populace without war, then we should conserve peace. You can see here that the preposition sine, which means without in English, is used with an object. Why? Because Latin prepositions always have an object immediately following, so we can trace our, often ignored, rule about preposition use in English back over 2,000 years. We can also learn that people thousands of years ago were capable of just as much depth and thought and consideration for life as we are today. So too were they capable of just as much passion. In the simplified words of the poet Catullus, da mihi basia mille, deinde centum. Dein mille altera, dein secunda centum. Give to me 1,000 kisses, then 100, then another 1,000, then a second 100. Never forget, grammarians, that our language is the product of the suffering and love and genius of the billions who lived before us. The Romans themselves are still alive in our language today, and we will be alive in the language of others thousands of years from now. Thank you for listening to our history lesson today. See you next time!